what we're doing, integrating with this first client in QRails, 3 more right around the corner. We'll have our SOC 2 compliance complements of PAARC. And then it's just about growing the revenue vertical. And then you create a reverse pyramid and off we go.
Welcome back, everyone. And thanks so much for joining us once again here at SmallCapVoice.com for our online business briefing, where we shine a spotlight on some of the smartest and freshest plays out there in the market today. And I'm excited to be welcoming back our friend Chris Jackson from CyberloQ. You know that ticker symbol. They're traded on the OTC under the ticker symbol CLOQ. But we're joined by another guest today, and this is exciting for me as well because I did a little due diligence on the company. I'd like to introduce to you now Luis Trujillo. Luis is the founder and managing partner of PAARC Consulting. Luis, thanks so much for making time for us today, and welcome back to the show. Chris, yourself, Luis, thanks for joining us at Small Cap Voice.
I appreciate it, and thank you for having us here.
Absolutely. And Chris, as I mentioned, welcome back. You're a savvy veteran to this format here at SmallCapVoice.com. Wonderful to see you and speak with you again today.
Hey, thanks, Stuart. Appreciate you giving us some time, and looking forward to sharing some information with the audience at large with PAARC and Luis, and we're excited to have them as part of the team.
Well, great. We're going to learn more about the company throughout this interview. And viewers and listeners, I'd like you to take a look at PAARCconsulting.com. That's PAARC, the word consulting.com. Chris, you and CyberloQ, since the last time we have spoken, you're very busy once again with QRails, and we've talked about QRails in the past. Viewers, listeners, you can go back and find that earlier audio interview. It's right next to this one. But Chris, tell us a little bit about the integration and how things are going and what the past few months have looked like for you and CyberloQ.
Thank you, Stuart. Well, it's been busy behind the scenes, completing our internal DevOps operation, building out the platform, getting approved within the iOS and Google Play stores. That's cumbersome, to say the least, but we've managed to do all of that. Our marketing website is almost completed, and we're right in the initial stages of beginning the actual integration with QRails for a spring launch. And as a part of that, obviously, some of the things that may not be sexy, as it were, in terms of business acumen and whatnot, is compliance. And we've been very, very fortunate to have a very sound relationship with our friends across the pond in TPL Trans Act Payments Limited, and we were referred directly to Lewis and his group, and we're excited to share with our audience in general compliance, but the benefits of having a fully compliant platform as we move into integration with not only QRails, but TPL, integrated finance, and some of the other partners that we have globally. And we're just excited to have PAARC in our corner to let us essentially be compliant in our SOC 2 integration status.
Very good. Thanks for that, Chris. And yeah, I probably should point that out. PAARC is the acronym, the company name. PAARC Consulting. Luis, as Chris just pointed out, I mean, compliance is going to be a big part of any of this in this equation. Let's talk a little bit now about the relationship and what PAARC will be bringing to the table as CyberloQ goes through these different various integrations.
Absolutely. Thank you, Stuart, and thank you, CJ, for the introduction, of course. And basically, it's SOC 2 compliance certification that CyberloQ is going to be completing in the coming months. And SOC 2, becoming a SOC 2 certified service provider, is becoming a pretty important and key aspect of a service provider's ability to provide confidence to its clients, to the world, that it has an internal control framework in place to make sure that data housed and maintained in its information systems is secure, it's being held in a confidential manner, and that the reliability of the system is there and up to par with industry standards and with SLAs that the company may have for its clients.
That's fascinating stuff, Luis. And I want to know then specifically how PAARC then leverages its staff to assist CyberloQ in this SOC 2 certification. Clearly, your company has a great history within this field. How did you evolve to this point? And then again, how will you assist CyberloQ specifically, leveraging your staff to assist them?
Absolutely. So basically what we've done here at PAARC is there are firms who are very good at completing a SOC 1 or SOC 2 certification audit. And those are some of the firms that we partner with to complete the certification process for our clients. What's lacking out there and where there has been a big demand, we noticed, is in the areas of assisting companies get to the point where they can become certified. And that means being basically an extension of their team to help companies like CyberloQ, among others, limit the reliance that they have on internal staff to be able to get to the point where they can pass a SOC certification, and reducing the timeline to certification significantly and obviously reducing the cost as well, because companies are not going to need to hire staff that have the experience and know how to get them be SOC certified. And we're basically an extension of CyberloQ's team that is help working with CJ and the team at CyberloQ, implementing an internal controls framework for the company that is aligned with the expectations of SOC auditors. And we're getting them ready to become certified in a much lower time frame and at a much lower cost that it would generally cost a company to reach the status of being a SOC certified organization. So you can think of us as an extension of CJ's team that comes with the expertise of knowing what the expectations of SOC auditors are and helping the team quickly evolve to becoming a SOC 2 certified organization and helping them integrate policies, procedures, and internal control framework to ensure that the SOC 2 certification is achieved quickly.
That's fascinating stuff. And Chris, it makes a lot of sense to me that you would outsource this because, as Luis just pointed out, it's going to be more affordable, more effective, allow you to stay lean and mean, keep that burn rate down as a young public company. And you're not so young anymore, actually. We've been speaking to you for a few years. And during that time, Chris, fraud, it hasn't slowed down. It's actually sped up. It's getting more clever. It's getting more versatile. And as we see in the payment industry or PII, the bad actors are relentless, and they are relentless in new approaches. So let's talk a little bit about how CyberloQ is going to fit in, and it's going to defend people and what we have worked so hard to build up. We want to know that there's a company like CyberloQ that can protect us. How do you do that? And then I'd love to hear from Luis on that topic as well, but go ahead, Chris.
Well, thank you, Stuart, and thank you, Luis, for those for your thoughts, because again, we're just trying to stay in our lane. For us to pretend that we would understand a SOC audit, it just seems pointless to us. So we've hired a consulting group that this is their specialization, and hence it makes it easier for us to get this process started. We have to have SOC 2 in order for our end user partners to even layer us into their cybersecurity protocol. QRails requires it. All of the banks, processing engines, program managers, they all require a SOC 2 compliance. So it just kind of as part of it. So that gets us into the system. But to your question, yes, the bad actors they're simply not stopping. Now with the advent of AI, we have to be even more proactive in our source code and our delivery mechanisms. And again, some of the nuances of geolocation and geofencing isn't necessarily unique to us. Geolocation is out there globally right now, but it's the way in which we sequence our delivery mechanism, which allows us to use geofencing with a limited amount of friction in real time to give third-party providers, banks, processors, the ability in real time to delineate whether a transaction is a valid transaction and they want to allow it to go through, or do they want to create a little bit of friction and perhaps tap the brakes a little bit and say, you know what, I don't think this is a valid transaction. Let's go ahead and stop this one. with the ability to do it again, maintaining that customer friendly atmosphere. One of the things that is a challenge for us, and it's a challenge for Luis and everything in our particular situation, is how do you prevent fraud but minimize customer friction? It's hard. It's very hard. Customer acquisition is very hard and it's very expensive. So we're trying to walk a fine line. And that goes within gaming, digital, crypto. All of these bad actors are in these different systems, and we're confident that the CyberloQ protocol and the delivery mechanism will make a difference, and we'll start to get inroads here in the first half of 2024 when we start integrating into these program managers and processing engines and can prevent fraud in real time. Pretty exciting stuff.
It is exciting. And you mentioned a vertical there I didn't even think about, which is a massive vertical. We know the gaming industry, the online gaming industry, and there are millions, if not billions of dollars that are being transacted in that space that maybe somebody my age at 53 doesn't quite readily recognize. Well, Luis, let me reshape that question and put it back to you a different way. So and Chris, I want you to address this as well, because it does talk about, again, the fraud space, which is its own cottage industry, unfortunately, and everybody needs better prevention measures against fraud. So, Luis, once CyberloQ does achieve its SOC 2 certification, what are the types of organizations who ask for this certification, and why do they want to ask for it? I mean, a little education on this, again, because some of our viewers are shareholders that may not know what a SOC 2 certification even is.
Right. So some of the organizations that will request for this, because it is a regulatory expectation on their end to work with service providers that have these certifications, are financial institutions. And when I say financial institutions, that includes banks, licensed regulated entities like money transmitters, electronic money institutions, payment service providers. Others that may be requesting it, it's large, essentially public corporations that have an internal control framework that requires them to partner with service providers that have the credentials to provide the services that they provide. They may not be regulated financial institutions. Some of them you just spoke about earlier, right? You pointed them out. Gaming companies is a very prime example. Some crypto companies as well. And what CyberloQ solution brings to the market is the reason why we are so excited about not just this partnership, but about the work that we are doing for CyberloQ here at PAARC. And that is because we are compliance and risk management professionals by trade, right? And we've seen firsthand the struggles that all these various financial institutions and regulated companies have been going through over the years in battling and combating fraud. And it's not getting any easier. It's only going to get worse. As technology evolves, the risks evolve with technology, right? And fraudsters will move at a much faster pace than industry does trying to catch up to the fraudsters. So we would think that technology would help solve some of the gaps, but actually what that gap is widening, and fraud is not slowing down. If you read the statistics, it's growing year on year on year on year. It has not decreased. And what this solution does with CyberloQ's solution, it is a completely out of the box control to help prevent and mitigate fraud that is completely different than anything that's out there. CyberloQ solution is not competing with other fraud prevention providers that the likes of risk and compliance departments of financial institutions and non-financial institutions are used to working with to help them prevent and mitigate and manage fraud. This is actually an additional tool. It works hand in hand with those existing fraud prevention ecosystems, and it is an additional layer of protection that these various companies can adopt to help further reduce the fraud rates that they're having. So it's not a project where financial institutions, payment service providers, gaming companies will need to basically re-architecture their system and or move from a current provider to a new one. It's basically adding a new layer of fraud prevention and a new layer of security in a new form to help close that gap, because we have to do something. It's unsustainable for the industry to continue operating the way it's been operating and allowing that gap to continue to widen, because fraudsters are here to stay. They're not going anywhere. And we have to attack them from multiple angles and multiple directions to be able to get some of these financial programs that are out there in the market under control. And it's well documented, the struggles that a lot of very prominent financial programs are having in terms of fraud prevention and the losses that fraud is bringing onto their balance sheets.
Thank you for that, Luis. That was a great summation of exactly what you are in place to do as a union between PAARC and CyberloQ. Chris, let's look at it differently. Let's say you have your SOC 2 certification as of today. Let's talk a little bit about, in closing, Chris, what do you see as the future for CyberloQ as it prevents fraud?
Well, we just need to get our foot in the door. We re-engineered our entire infrastructure, to Lewis's point, to be able to go to scale, to be able to combat these issues globally. Our AWS cloud infrastructure could handle millions of transactions in real time. With that in mind, we still need to be cognizant of our partner clients and their ability to maintain that relationship with their clients, to minimize friction, to minimize in essence, we don't want to create such a barrier between a client and the owner of that group to where it becomes so cumbersome where they don't want to do business with that client anymore. So there's a balance there. There's a unique balance. If that makes sense, if you guys understand what I'm trying to share with you, you could create such an amount of friction that no fraud ever happened, but it would be detrimental to the relationship between the bank and or the crypto company and the end user. So there's a fine line there. But what we're doing within this process is integrating with this first client in QRails, and we have 3 more right around the corner. Once we've done this first one, then the rest of them are easier because that first one is done. Everything's API handshakes, SDK, software development kits. Then those integrations become very easy. We'll have our SOC 2 compliance complements of PAARC and Lewis and his team. And then it's just about growing the revenue vertical. And then you create a reverse pyramid and off we go. 2024 is going to be an exciting time.
Oh, I'm excited to see it. Well, once again, we are speaking with that gentleman right there, Chris Jackson. He is the president and CEO of CyberloQ Technologies, ticker symbol on the OTC, CLOQ. And we are also speaking with their partner in PAARC Consulting, PAARC Consulting.com. That's Luis Trujillo. Luis, you did an excellent job. Your first time here with us at SmallCapVoice.com. Thank you so much for your insights into this. Well, it is an interesting industry, to say the least. It's definitely one that's a thorn in the side for a lot of us that have to sit on the sidelines and watch it. But it's good to know that there's players like PAARC partnering up with CyberloQ. Thanks, Luis.
Thank you, Stuart. Appreciate it. And thank you, CJ.
And Chris, as always, my friend, welcome back. And it was great to see you again and great to get another update from you. Best of luck in all things. And I know we're going to speak to you again here in the near future, and another one of your powerful partners working with CyberloQ Technologies. Thanks, Chris.
Hey, thank you, Stuart. Thanks, Luis. What a great podcast. You guys did such a great job. All of our shareholders, current and future, we've got a great team, and we look forward to speaking with you guys again. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Add that ticker symbol to your watch list, CLOQ, and be sure to subscribe to this podcast, webcast, vlog, whatever you want to call it. Just subscribe to it. The button's right there. Hit that like button and share your comments with us. We will be speaking, as I just mentioned, with Chris in the near future. So we look forward to hearing from you right here at SmallCapVoice.com.